Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale and one of the world's most influential voices, just identified artificial intelligence's fatal flaw in 3 words: garbage in, garbage out. And here's what makes this explosive. She's not some random tech critic. She's someone who's spent her life studying human nature, power, and truth. When Margaret Atwood tells you something's wrong with AI, people listen. This isn't a new theory either. Computer scientists have known about the garbage in, garbage out principle, GIGO, for decades. It's fundamental. But AI companies have spent billions trying to convince us that machine learning is pure magic, that somehow feeding a model millions of documents and images means it'll become smarter than human knowledge. Atwood cuts right through that noise. She's saying something far simpler and far more devastating. If the data you feed into an AI system is flawed, biased, or false, the AI won't magically fix it. It'll amplify it. It'll weaponize it. It'll make the problem worse. This is the uncomfortable truth nobody on the venture capital circuit wants to talk about, and it completely changes how you should think about the AI products you're using right now. Because once you understand this one principle, you'll never fall for the AI hype the same way again. But here's what most coverage gets wrong about what she actually means. To understand why Atwood's statement is so powerful, you need to know where this idea comes from. GIGO isn't new. Computer scientists were saying garbage in, garbage out back in the 1950s and 1960s. It's essentially a law of computing. If you put bad information into a system, you get bad information out. The computer can't magically improve it. It just processes it fast, at massive scale, with artificial intelligence. This principle becomes even more critical because AI isn't like traditional software. Traditional software does what you tell it to do. AI is different. It learns from examples. You show it 1 million images of dogs, it learns patterns about dogs. You show it 1 million news articles, it learns patterns about language. The problem is that real-world data is messy. It's full of human bias. The internet, where most training data comes from, isn't a neutral archive of knowledge. It amplifies some viewpoints, suppresses others. It contains racist stereotypes, sexist patterns, false information that went viral. When you feed that into an AI model, you're encoding all those flaws directly into how it thinks. And that's just the beginning. AI companies know their datasets are compromised. They clean the data a bit. They patch the most obvious biases. But they can't actually fix the fundamental problem because the bias is everywhere. So what does garbage actually mean in the context of AI? Let's be concrete. Imagine you're training an AI on images from the internet. The internet has more photos of white men in leadership positions than any other group. Why? Because those are the people who were photographed and posted online more often. So your AI learns that CEO looks like a white man. It's not doing anything wrong. It's just following the patterns in its training data. But now when someone shows it a photo of a woman and asks, is this a CEO? It's less confident. The pattern is baked in. Or take language. Most AI models are trained on text from the internet. But the internet isn't neutral. It's where conspiracy theories live. It's where people say false things confidently and true things hesitantly. It's where certain political views dominate in certain communities. When you train an AI on that, you're not teaching it truth. You're teaching it the biases of whoever had internet access and posted online. And that's billions of human perspectives from one specific period of time in history, mostly from the wealthiest, most connected parts of the world. Atwood's point is that no amount of clever engineering fixes this. You can't filter bad data well enough. You can't debias your way out of garbage inputs. The flaw is in the source material itself. Let's look at real examples. When Meta released its LLaMA model, researchers immediately tested it for bias, and they found it. It was more likely to associate certain ethnic groups with negative stereotypes. When Google's image AI generated pictures of people, it often produced biased results, underrepresenting certain groups or depicting stereotypes. These aren't bugs. They are features of the training data. OpenAI has spent years trying to make ChatGPT less biased. They've retrained it multiple times. They've added safety layers, but the model still encodes biases from the internet. And here's the thing most coverage gets wrong. Each new model that trains on existing AI outputs is amplifying the problem. Researchers are starting to call this model collapse. It happens when you train a new AI on outputs from a previous AI, which was trained on old internet data, which was already biased. Each generation inherits and magnifies the garbage. We're looking at potentially billions of dollars being invested in systems that are guaranteed, by Atwood's principle, to reproduce and amplify the flaws in their training data. Companies spend millions on safety patches, but you can't patch garbage in, garbage out. That's not a bug you can fix with prompt engineering. Now here's where this gets really uncomfortable. If you've followed AI news, you've heard hype about what fixes this: bigger models, more data, better compute. But Atwood's principle cuts through that. More data doesn't fix flawed data, it amplifies it. You're just scaling up the garbage. Bigger models don't fix it either. A massive model trained on biased data is a bigger bias engine. More advanced training techniques don't fix it. Better safety fine-tuning doesn't fix it. These are all things companies spend billions on, attempting to polish garbage. The real solution, getting better, less biased, more accurate training data, is hard. It's expensive. It requires human judgment. You can't automate your way out of it. You need people carefully selecting, cleaning, and curating datasets. And that doesn't scale as easily as throwing more GPU compute at a problem. This is why venture capital hasn't solved it. Because the fix isn't a technical innovation that generates billions. It's methodical, human-intensive work. Humbling, even. This is where the real story starts, because all the hype about AI becoming self-improving and super-intelligent, that's built on garbage data too. Everything that follows rests on contaminated ground. So what does this mean for the future? First, regulatory bodies will get serious about data governance. The European Union's AI Act already requires companies to document training data. But that's just the start. Regulators need to ask, where does your data come from? How was it collected? What biases does it encode? How did you clean it? These aren't sexy questions, but they matter more than model size or speed. Second, this completely reframes AI safety. Everyone talks about alignment, making sure AI does what we want. But if training data is garbage, alignment fails. You're aligning garbage to human values. Third, and most uncomfortable for venture capital, you can't disrupt your way out of this. There's no clever startup fixing garbage data. It's institutional work. Years of it. Requires expertise. Doesn't scale to billions in revenue. This is why Atwood's statement terrifies the industry. Not because she's wrong, but because she's right about something nobody wants to admit. And here's where it gets interesting. Some companies are starting to listen. What can you do with this knowledge? How do you actually protect yourself? First, when you see an AI result, a generated image, a piece of writing, a prediction, ask yourself one question: where did this model get its training data? If you can't find a clear answer, that's a red flag. Second, test for bias yourself. Show the AI a scenario and see if it handles different groups consistently. Ask it questions with names that sound like they are from different cultures and backgrounds, then compare the responses. Third, be skeptical about what an AI tells you about recent events or controversial topics. These are exactly the areas where training data is most biased, most contested, most likely to reflect the internet's worst instincts rather than actual truth. Fourth, remember this: an AI's confidence level means absolutely nothing about whether it's right. An AI trained on garbage can sound extremely confident and authoritative while being completely false. It learned the patterns perfectly. It just learned the wrong patterns. Finally, understand that you can't solve this alone. This is a systemic problem. The real fix comes from how companies curate training data. This is where regulation actually matters. Here's what this means for you. You're using AI right now. Maybe you've used ChatGPT or an image generator. Maybe you've gotten recommendations from an algorithm. All of those systems are limited by Atwood's principle. None of them are magic. None of them know better than their training data. And their training data comes from a messy, biased internet that reflects one moment in human history. What Margaret Atwood did was cut through years of hype and distraction. She reminded us of a simple truth that computer scientists knew 70 years ago: garbage in, garbage out. The difference now is that we are building garbage-in systems that billions of people trust. We are treating them like oracles when they are just mirrors of their training data. So what should you do? Stay skeptical. Ask where the data comes from. Don't assume confidence means correctness. And think critically about the AI systems you're using every single day. Because understanding GIGO isn't just academic. It changes how you evaluate every AI claim you hear. And right now, in 2026, that matters more than ever. Follow for daily AI news.